Hello, Ben Eagle.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to meet you. It's amazing to be here in the UK. So where are we right now?
Right now we're on the Essex coast, which is about an hour and a half outside of central London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just a stone's throw away.
Very, very near. Yeah. Quite easy to get in and out. Ish.
We like getting in and out. So Bethany's told me that you are a farmer and a blogger, and you've also had a lot of involvement in farmers' mental health. Could you tell us a little bit about those three areas in your life and how maybe they come together?
So I grew up on a farm. I was a dairy farm at the time when I was a kid.
You're not lactose intolerant.
I'm not lactose intolerant, no. I'm a happy consumer of dairy.
Great, I love dairy too.
But I went away and did lots of other things. Lots of different interests came together and converged. I think I really learned that what I love in life and what I really get fired up about is the countryside and food. Definitely food.
I love food.
Yeah, a bit more food. And people in the countryside, and I suppose probably the two main elements being farming and writing. It was always I've always loved writing, and I love the arts generally as well, and creativity and that kind of thing. So it was how I could use the two together, and I started writing really about these sorts of issues, about the countryside, about farming, about food, about conservation, about the environment. Really as a way of trying to understand all these things in my own way, and really where I fit in. It was a lot about identity and trying to understand who I was.
Did you not feel like you were a farmer? I mean, you've got quite a good farmer vibe, I would say, Farmer Ben.
Thank you very much.
Suits your name.
I don't know. I mean, firstly, I've actually been on my podcast, Meet the Farmers.
Meet the Farmers. That sounds good. We should listen to that.
I didn't mean to give that a plug, but anyway.
No, let's plug it.
So on my podcast at the moment, we're up to nearly about 40 recorded episodes at the moment. Been going a couple of years, and a subject which we talk about quite a lot, actually, me and guests, is what a farmer actually is and who a farmer actually is. And we talk about labels and what being a farmer means. And really, you can be a farmer and do lots of different things. You don't necessarily... And farming is very, very diverse as a thing. It can also be incredibly stressful, very long hours. But actually, this idea of what a farmer should be, generally very strong, working very long hours,
wearing welly boots,
wearing wellies. That's for me.
And a cap.
And a cap.
It doesn't look
Got
like
my
a
cap with
farmer
me.
cap, but
Is it not?
But it's a cap. It's a cap. So you're saying that you feel like the stereotype of a farmer is one that a lot of people actually don't resonate with?
Yeah, I mean, massively. I mean, I think meeting lots of farmers, what I've realised is there's no one particular person. There is actually a huge... In the UK and abroad as well, so I've been really lucky to make quite a few links with farmers all over the world as well, through the podcast and through my blog. There are a huge diversity of different people involved in food and farming. There's still a lot in terms of being inclusive and getting people involved. There's a lot more, certainly in the UK, I think we could be doing. But fundamentally, I don't think that there should be a particular image in mind of what a farmer is, because we're all individuals and we all change through our lives and we all have different interests and different skills, but they can all be used in farming. Rather like you, I'm really interested in other people's stories, and everyone is good at something. Everyone has that particular thing, and everyone has a voice inside them to tell a particular story. Well, when you don't have a story that you can tell yourself, the best thing to do is get someone who can tell that story out there. So I have been trying to raise the profile in my own little way of these kinds of subjects, of certainly minority subjects, I suppose, within farming and within the countryside, of which women working in agriculture, in a broad sense, is one. There are thousands of women working, and actually across the world, one could argue that it's actually I mean there are so many women working in farming in lots of different areas, but it's about giving that profile and especially encouraging diversity, because actually when people don't see diversity, then they're less likely to go down a particular route.
I wanted to ask, as a very close friend of yours, you've talked to me a lot before about how you felt quite isolated, and I know that this is a conversation that quite a few people feel working in a countryside, long hours, you don't see anyone. How has that affected you? Has it had a direct impact on your life?
Oh, massively so. And in that very subject, loneliness, isolation, stress, long hours, all these expectation as well, all of these things come together, and I think that's quite common. It's quite common, certainly within agriculture, but taking it on a broader level, within people in the countryside, that idea of isolation and coping by yourself. There's self-reliance, and I think self-reliance is generally a very good thing, but it can tip over the edge sometimes. And yeah, I mean, I've gone through stages personally where I've had seriously bad bouts of depression. I've had bouts of anxiety as well, and that personal experience, I suppose, drove me on to trying to understand that with other people, because when you're feeling isolated as well, for me, the natural thing I've always done is try to actually understand that by talking to others. The difficult thing with mental health is that whatever condition you're faced with, it makes you feel even more isolated as well, and it actually makes you, the last thing you want to do is to talk with other people most of the time, even though it's the most important thing to do. But anyway, so that drove me to really become quite interested in this subject in the context of the countryside, and in rural Britain especially, but for rural jobs, farming especially, and reaching out and actually just talking with others and seeing, hang on, are you experiencing other things that are similar to this? It's been really interesting in the last couple of years, I suppose. The subject of mental health in the context of farming has become more mainstream, I suppose, within the farming community, and within the farming press especially. It's talked about a lot more, and farming social media as well. But there have been, in the UK, there's been a raft of charities who've been really working in a very dedicated fashion in this kind of thing for many years, and I've been, to give a few shout outs, there's Yana, You Are Not Alone, who are mostly Norfolk and Suffolk based. There's the Farming Community Network, who are a nationally based organisation who do brilliant work, and they're just providing that listening ear, but specifically for people in the farming community. And then there's other institutions like the Royal Agricultural Benevolent Institution, the RABI, who are there to provide emergency support, I suppose, for people. So there are these platforms there, but I think this is almost going beyond that where we are now, in that this is actually, now mental health is becoming a subject that farmers are feeling like they can actually just approach people within their own community because it's being spoken about more. And I'm a big believer that we have to lay the groundwork with just starting a conversation before real change can actually be enacted. This is about changing the way of thinking that we as a community in farming, and we as communities generally in rural Britain here, but also mental health has no boundaries at all. It can, no matter who you are in life, no matter what your background, no matter what your income, no matter what your gender, whoever you are, people can be affected in different ways. And what this is about, what the brilliant national conversation about mental health is about saying that, we can all be affected, therefore we all really understand, and it's about actually equipping ourselves with the tools to understand and help each other.
What do you tend to see the purpose of storytelling for you?
The purpose of storytelling for me is about sharing an idea, and sharing that idea with other people. It's about reflection. It's about understanding something in your own mind. But the best way of trying to understand something or trying to explain something, I think, is through narrative. So it's about actually following a story with a beginning, a middle and an end, and it has a message. It sort of sows a seed of an idea in your mind, and then it makes you... Some of the best moments in my life are when I think in a particular way, and then someone tells me something and then it completely changes. Oh, you know what? Why didn't I think of that before? Why did yeah? And that's why I really like exposing myself, and it's something I'm trying to do far more within a sort of rural and countryside writing format. Is trying to expose myself and work with a far broader range of people who work in other areas or write about different subjects, but perhaps have linkages with my subjects as well. So using one example, I'm trying to follow a lot more people in the vegan community and trying to understand that sort of community and that way of thinking, because traditionally farmers, and within a writing context in farming and agricultural writing and agricultural journalism, it has been quite defensive, but actually
as in people who would be meat eaters or farm meat would be against the vegan society and vice versa.
Exactly, but not just people who farm animals. So it seems like it was the farming community versus the vegans set in this very split end.
I'm going to have my quinoa, and they're like, nah, I'm going to have my beef.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But actually, I think, like with anything in life, you're not going to that is not going to achieve anything.
No.
So let's actually see what both sides want. And actually, there are an increasing number of farmers who I've been lucky enough to speak to, which has been really interesting because that's changed my view slightly. That actually they see vegans as a potential opportunity in terms of the market. So they might actually change what they're growing. Or change what they're producing to suit this, because veganism is it's a niche within the broader sort of food market.
Yeah.
We can break this down and change our way of thinking and work together a bit, and that's then starting to just take the pressure out and take all that anger out.
Take away the us and them attitude.
Exactly.
It makes me think about February that was run by
Jude Capper. Dr. Jude Capper, who is a vet. She started it, I think it was 3 years ago, and it really took off on social media, mainly because it's a very simple idea that it followed Veganuary. So January was Veganuary, so sort of championing vegan diet, and then February was set up as a bit of a spoof, really, to be honest. But it was something to really champion the dairy industry. And I mean, it's one thing about farming, and especially now in the context of Brexit and everything else, and the massive uncertainty, farmers are very downtrodden. It's almost like there's nothing that they can do right. No matter what they do in a particular way, they're doing...
By society.
Yeah, very much. And I think, it's about giving that voice and enabling that debate to be on a slightly broader level.
Being an underdog or feeling like people don't get you, or that they're judging you, can mean that then you respond with anger or fear because you already feel like a minority that's being judged, rather than here's a space to be accepted, we're listening, but we might have different opinions. Okay, so big question for you, Ben.
Yes.
If you could choose any other profession in your life, what would it be?
What would it be? Oh, see, I would be useless at it, but it would have to be a chef.
I thought you were going to say, I'd be you. And I was like, oh, stop it. You'd be me. I know, it's a great life. You'd be a chef.
I would be a chef. I would be
vegan chef.
I would be terrible in a kitchen because it's like, it's a hot, stressful environment. But I think it would be to give pleasure to everyone every day. Is one of the best things in the world, and I think that would be brilliant. That's probably
lovely.
what I'd do.
Well, you farm sheep, am I right? So you can cook me some sheep. I'm Australian. We love eating sheep.
There's a bit of a contest that goes on there.
Oh, between you and our sheep. Our sheep. They're all my sheep.
They all belong to you. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, Ben.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Thank you, Benjamin.
That's okay.
Your Instagram handle is
at Benji_Eagle. Benji is BENJY.
BENGY.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Did I say J or just say G?
No. BENJY.
I did, didn't I?
That's a J. Do it again.
So on Instagram or Twitter, you can follow me at Benji_Eagle. Benji is BENJY. And you can visit my blog and website, which is thinkingcountry.com.
Thinking Country.
Yeah, exactly. and I'm hoping to start on YouTube. I think I actually have a YouTube channel, but I haven't.
It's called The
started
Sassy
developing
Show.
it. Yeah.
He's on The Sassy Show. Don't tell them about your YouTube channel. I'm joking.
But yeah, and podcast is Meet the Farmers.
Meet the Farmers!